Who are going to be the impact freshmen for the 2024 college football season? A lot of big names that you'll probably recognize if you are dialed into the most recent recruiting cycle. And the number one player from that 2024 recruiting cycle is Ohio State wide receiver Jeremiah Smith. Now, he is already enrolled, as is every other recruit we're going to talk about here on this list. And the buzz early out of spring football is that Jeremiah Smith is, in fact, him. He was the fastest player in Buckeye history to lose the black stripe on the helmet. Now, what does that mean? The black stripe being taken off your helmet is essentially a sign from the staff that you are now one of us. You're a Buckeye, you're a member of the team, you're doing everything we've asked you to do up to the standard that we've asked of you to do it, and you're doing it at a high level. So there's that part of it, and there's also the reality that you're probably making a whole lot of plays. If you're tuned into those snippets on the Ohio State social media page, it shows Jeremiah Smith making a couple big plays. Denzel Burke is a big-time corner for Ohio State, and he has been known, from what I understand, he has been known as one of the most honest individuals on Ohio State's football team. And during bull practice, our folks at Let Him in Row asked him, like, hey, Denzel, what do you think about Jeremiah Smith, when he gets on campus? What are you thinking about him when he gets to Columbus? So remember, he hadn't yet seen a ton of Jeremiah Smith at this point in time. And he said, we'll see. He's going to have to show me. Jeremiah Smith, again, into 4 practices at Ohio State, has the approval of Denzel Burke. He said he's impressed, and he believes he can be and maybe will be the next great wide receiver, that is, in Columbus. The thing I love for Jeremiah Smith and why I think he's going to have a massive impact in 2024 for Ohio State is, as good as he is and as talented as he is, as much attention defenses will have to pay him, they're not going to be able to just key on this talented freshman. Because you also got Emeka Egbuka, who's proven he's a 1,000-yard wide receiver when he's healthy. They got a stable of backs in Quinshawn Judkins and Travion Henderson and Dallas. Hey, they got some dudes now that can go. So you have that paired with his ability, paired with the fact that you can move him around offensively. You can put him in the slot, can put him out wide, depending on how quickly he gets up to speed with the playbook. Bottom line, the sky's the limit for this kid. He's a state champ in the 110 and 400-meter hurdles in the state of Florida. You're not a state champ in that state unless you're fast. So bottom line, expect Jeremiah Smith to have a major impact this upcoming season in Columbus. Yes, as a true freshman in that wide receiver room for Ohio State. Next up, Colorado offensive tackle Jordan Seaton is going to be an impact freshman. Now, they are going to ask him to play right away, is my understanding. If you watched the Colorado football game last year, you couldn't help but feel some kind of way for Shedeur Sanders because he was running around all the time last year, running for his life, it felt like. Gave up 50 sacks last year to Colorado's offensive line. So you enter in the top offensive tackle from the class of 2024, 6'5", 285 pounds. One of the things I love about Jordan Seaton as he goes to the collegiate level is the fact that he comes from IMG. And we've seen this now on different occasions where a player is able to acclimate a little bit more quickly to the college game because they played at such high level of competition at the high school level, not just in games from IMG's schedule, but also during practice. You don't go to IMG unless you can ball. And so that means Jordan Seaton during the week, when he's going through reps during practice, he's playing against college-level athletes. So that's massive. Again, they're going to ask a lot of him right away. I'm excited to see how he translates. Because if he can give Shedeur Sanders a little bit of time, say what you want about Deion Sanders in Colorado and the process they're going through there as a program. They got some weapons now. Travis Hunter, Amari and Miller. If you give Shedeur Sanders time to deal the rock, it's going to make you pay. So Jordan Seaton will obviously have a very large hand into how much time Shedeur Sanders does have this upcoming season. A team that Colorado's going to play this upcoming season, in week 2, I believe it is Nebraska. And Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola still has to win the job, but is as high profile a player as Nebraska has landed in recent memory. Flipped his commitment very late in the cycle from Georgia to Nebraska. Before that, he was committed to Ohio State. He's probably, I don't think this is a stretch in saying this, the most talented quarterback on Nebraska's roster. Just from a arm talent perspective, the kid can absolutely deal the pill like a shady pharmacist. The good news now, if Dylan Raiola does win the job and is thrust into action early, there's going to be some support for him on this roster. That running game last year, almost 170 yards on the ground a game, bring a lot of that production back. The defense from last year brings back your defensive coordinator in Tony White, which was massive, and then a lot of that production on defense that only allowed 18 points a game. Now, The bad news is the offensive line gave up a 10% sack rate in 2023. Y'all, that's not going to cut it. I think the key thing for me with Dylan Raiola to allow this team to make a bowl game is going to be understanding very early on you don't have to be Superman. People see Dylan Raiola, and he wore number 15 his final year of high school at Buford, and people see the awkward arm angles and the stuff that he does, and he gets the Pat Mahomes comp a lot. And Pat Mahomes, very early in his career in the NFL, had to learn just to take what the defense gave him. Hey, it's not bad to throw a check down. It's not bad to throw the football out of bounds and have a throwaway kind of play and live to see the next down. Dylan Raiola has to learn that early in his career at Nebraska. And if he does that successfully, Nebraska's going to have a chance for the reasons I just mentioned. Don't need to be Superman. Take what the defense gives you. Because last year, as many close losses as Nebraska had, they had a revolving door at quarterback, and nobody threw more touchdowns than interceptions. Like, there's going to be some pressure on Dylan Raiola to perform as a true freshman, of course, but they're not going to ask him to be an All-American or be an All-Big Ten selection the minute he steps foot on campus. Run the offense. Don't turn the ball over. Throw more touchdowns than picks. Should be in good shape. But any way you slice it, he will be an impact freshman this upcoming season. Last guy I want to get to here, wide receiver at Auburn. And honestly, we probably could have done a full segment on true freshman wide receivers that are going to make a major impact because there's a lot of them. Maybe we'll do that in the future. Not an all-encompassing list, but one more receiver I want to get to here, Cam Coleman. He's just different. And that's not just my own estimation. That's the early reports out of spring practice out there on the plains at Auburn. Kid's just different. Like, you watch them go through individual drills. You look over at the group as they get water, and Cam Coleman and his just physical build at 6'3", 188 pounds just has a different optics to it. The way that he operates, man. He has, according to Charles Power, the largest catch radius of any wide receiver this past cycle in 2024. Now, that's not shade at Jeremiah Smith. That's just talking about Cam Coleman and how special he truly is. To execute Hugh Freeze's offense and to do it at a high level and score at the clip they expect to score at, you need playmakers that can keep that secondary at bay. Because Peyton Thorne, man, I think he'll be a little bit better than what we saw last year. I don't think you'll see as many games from him where he throws for less than 100 yards. If they're able to have someone to push that secondary back and then let guys like Jarquez Hunter eat and let Peyton Thorne get loose with his legs. Like, if you're able to be multiple offensively, this offense is able to operate how they want it to, and a big part of that is having a playmaker on the outside like a Cam Coleman. The big thing for him, his impact will be determined by how quickly he gets up to speed in a college offense. Because we know this now. Typically, when you get to the collegiate ranks as a high school player, as a wide receiver, at the high school level when you're a wide receiver, it's like, hey, it's man-to-man. You're faster than everybody. You're bigger than everybody. Go run a fade and score a touchdown. You may have some games like that if you're Cam Coleman. He's still a special player, but there's a lot more that goes into it during the play of, okay, you got this zone coverage. You got to sit it down here. You got to pivot your route here. You got to acclimate your route here. You got press coverage. Like, there's a lot of things that go into playing the wide receiver position that you're asked to do, and he will be asked to do at Auburn that you weren't asked to do at the high school level. But even so, man, if he hits the ground running and it clicks for him early, he's got all the physical tools to be extremely dynamic. And him being dynamic, I think the ripple effect of that is Auburn scores over 30 points a game if he's able to be the beast that I think he can be in 2024. And if Auburn's scoring in the range of 30 a game, they're going to win a lot of ball games. Now, how many? We'll obviously talk about that as it gets closer and closer, but I wouldn't be surprised if Cam Coleman clicking correlated to Auburn being a 8 to 9 win football team in 2024. So a lot of big names to know, a lot of names to know that we'll probably continue to talk about as we get further and further into the spring season. But know those names. They're going to be impact guys. And know those names. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.